right, how are we doing tonight? Sorry about that. I'm a little bit late. I missed Cinco, I guess. Anyway, just a little fun. And thought I'd clear it up. For all the drunk people out there right now that are closing down the bars or whatever, because they think it's the day to drink margaritas or tequila shooters or whatever it is, it's not the day. That's not what's going on here, just so you know. And let's see. What we got going here? Oh, always a wreck. Always a wreck. Everything actually looks like we're doing good here. Anyway, I wanted to talk about the origin of Cinco de Mayo. And as all the gringos out there think, you pincheros, it's not Independence Day for Mexico. Okay, it's not. It was a day of battle for the Mexican army against the French, and it was this date in now you're testing my history. 1862. Never fails. Whenever I start the stream, that thing goes off. I'm just so used to it now. And I want to say that the battle happened in Puebla, and that was in the central eastern part of Mexico. And I believe it was the British, the Spanish, and the French had come to collect on a debt. The French decided to stay, while the British and I believe the Spanish decided to go back, and so a battle ensued. God, I would have to look it up to see, the key players in it. However, it was a big victory for Mexico on that day because they'd been pushed back into this village, and were not supposed to win. They were the what they would refer to as the Los de Abajos, which means the underdogs, in case you were wondering. And yes, I am able to understand Spanish, and I can speak a little bit of it. I'm not so good at it now as I used to be. However, I used to work with a lot of Hispanic dudes, and so it's easier when you're immersed in it. And also, did a little bit of time in Southern California. Obviously, got a lot of Hispanic brothers out there. So to all you cats, hope y'all doing well. Hope life's treating you good. And yeah. Anyway, it'd be cool to see some of you cats again. Some of you. No, just kidding. No. We all got along very well. No problems whatsoever. So anyways, I just kind of wanted to start off with that, even though it is now technically past Cinco. I intended on doing the show earlier, but I was putting together that graphic of the drunk girls, because this seems to be all you ever see. It's Cinco. Oh my God, it's Cinco. And you got the dudes that put on like their senior frog shirt. Everybody puts on a sombrero, and they run around the bars screaming about it being Mexican Independence Day, and that is just not the case. I'm sorry, it's not the case. That's not what it is. It's really not even celebrated in Mexico as much as it is in the United States. And here it's just kind of another excuse for Americans to get drunk. Is all it is. I mean, it's kind of like St. Patrick's Day, And I never gave much credence to St. Patrick's Day. I really don't now either, because I never even knew that I had Irish heritage. And finding that out doesn't mean that all of a sudden I'm going to. I mean, it's like you find something out. It's like you are who you are. Your heritage, your lineage, I guess, your DNA, where you came from. I mean, I guess it kind of. I mean, it means something. Apparently, I mean, otherwise I probably wouldn't have sent the thing in. I was just curious, because you wonder. And like I've said before on the show, I always have just said that I'm Northern European, and the thing came back, and that's exactly what it was, 100%, a bunch of different percents between British and Norwegian and, Finnish and Scottish. And lo and behold, there was Irish on there too, which, I mean, what am I going to do? Get some shirts. I don't even think I wore anything green on St. Patrick's Day. Why would I do that? It's like, it's funny. The one thing I gotta laugh about when I'm talking about this stuff is I think it was on Ellen's show. It was either Ellen or Oprah. Don't quote me. I'm not sure, but they had a guy who was a white supremacist on there, and they said, well, how about we do a genealogy test on you, and we find out, like where what your lineage is. And so they did. And then it came back, and he was like, I can't remember what the percentage was, but he was like, I want to say it was like 13% African or something. And the guy was just like, this dude he was obviously a retard. Anybody who's going to be a white supremacist is fucking retarded anyways. Sorry to say the R word, but really, the idea that you're supreme over somebody else because of the color of your skin is just, it's stupidity. And if that's the, if that's where you want to make your last stand, that's where you want to fight your battles, I guess, okay. It's stupid for anybody too. I don't care what background, race, whatever religion you are, there's nobody that's supreme. I don't care. We're all people, and we deserve to be treated. Okay, and then that gets into the whole equality thing. We deserve to be treated equally. Is everybody equal? No. Sorry. Everybody's not equal, and it doesn't have anything to do with your race, your religion, anything like that. We're not equal. We're different heights. We're different sizes. We're different weights. People have different abilities regarding intellect. I myself was never very good with math and science. However, I scored very high in testing with English, with reading comprehension and writing skills. It took me until a lot later in life before I even really had a comprehension of algebra. I never understood how you're going to put a letter in there for a number, and it just didn't. It never seemed something that was applicable in my life. So there were other people that I went to school with that were really good at math and science, but not so good at the other thing. So everybody's got different skill sets. Everybody's got strengths, weaknesses. That's what makes us unique and different. So while we treat each other equally, we are not equal in the sense of the word. You know what I'm saying? I hope you understand that. I hope everybody gets what I'm saying. I'm not saying that there's inequalities because of lineage, genealogy, anything like that. We should treat everybody as equal. You should treat everybody with respect. You should treat everybody how you would want to be treated. Now, I think that when we talk equality, I think that that's the proper way to look at it. You cannot say there's equality of outcome. I would love to see a world in which there was equality of opportunity. Will we ever get to that point? I don't know. It's going to take some serious moves for that to happen. And it would be a very difficult thing to accomplish. Excuse me. I would love to see that happen. I think that'd be fantastic. The first thing that would have to happen, though, is not a redistribution of wealth, but you would have to eliminate the monetary system. Gone. So you have to move, in my opinion, in order for us to have, excuse me, Jesus Christ, every time, in order to have a system that had equality of opportunity. It's my thought that the whole monetary system has got to be eliminated, gone by. We have to move to a resource-based world. And to do that, that would, and some of these people are going to call me a globalist or whatever else. This is just a hypothetical. This is a theory. This is just my musings. This is just my take. But it would take a global movement of everybody doing the same. And everybody from, everybody becoming, I don't know. We would just have to call Earth Earth. And I used to put that on back in the day when I was a smartass and shit. When I was, moving around from job to job, I would always fill out that the tax form, and I would always put my name on there as Alexander Supertramp. I'd claim myself as being exempt. And then I'd ask where I was from, and I would say Earth. Things that would say, nationality or whatever, I'd say human. And that's kind of how I've always felt about things, even though I've never really been anywhere else other than here. And I've been to Mexico once, and I've been to Canada a number of times. But I've never been to Europe. I'd love to go. I'd love to travel around. I just never have. I don't know. I like it here, I guess. I mean, I'm not, and like I've said, I'm not going to sit here and say proud to be an American, because I had nothing to do with it. Neither did any of you. I mean, you can say that till you're blue in the face, but the thing is none of you that are listening to this right now had anything to do with anything to do with where you're from. You didn't have a choice. You were born there, and that's it. Like I said, if we were to say we were proud to be American, then somewhere in our mother's womb or post, conception, there would have had to have been some kind of a decision made other than our parents doing whatever they did to, however we were conceived. God knows there's probably some iffy territory there, I would imagine. But best not think on that too deeply, huh? I mean, that's just funny that everybody's got this pride of their heritage, and that's fine. I mean, it's great to have respect for your ancestors, those that came before you. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But to want to fight with people over that, and then to put yourself in these boxes, and that's what I hate about filling shit out. That I've done some stuff for this. It's a site that does they do like website testing and stuff, and they always want to ask you, what race are you? And I always put Caucasian on there, but sometimes I think, why should I even fill this out? But I know that they're looking at demographics, I guess. And let's face it, there are demographical differences between different people, and I mean, it's interesting because I think if you put anybody from any race and you do like a Truman Show type thing, and you put any person from any race in any type of a scenario, they're going to adapt. People are adaptive, so you're going to adapt to your surroundings. I mean, there's all kinds of stereotypes about, what people like and what people drive. I mean, one of the funniest conversations I ever had locked up was a bunch of us were in the back of the unit, and we're all just going around. It's just one of those nights, and I think it was around the holidays. And so you had every different race. You had Asian dudes, you had black guys, Hispanic dudes. We were all just sitting around, and we got on the conversation of, what was your first? What do you we were like, what do you think? What do you think so and so's first vehicle was? And so of course, when it came around to me, I was a Ford F-150, which I had to laugh about because it wasn't the case. And anybody that remembers me from when we were kids, my first vehicle was a 1980 Datsun single cab, 2-wheel drive pickup truck with a missing driver's side fender, all rusted out, clapped out, had more money in the stereo than it did in the truck. But the crazy thing was that damn thing started every day. It didn't have a defroster or a heater that was shot, so that was always fun in the wintertime. It was always fun taking a girl to a movie or whatever and sitting there with a ice scraper on the inside of the truck in the wintertime. Sorry you're frozen. Like my ride. But it was a good, I mean, hey, you know what a great experience to have that as your first vehicle, just a clapped out piece of junk. I mean, there's a guy that He was like a wrestling coach in Powell. And he had the thing on his property, and they gave it to me. They just signed it over to me just to get it the hell off the property, which was cool. I wonder if those folks are even around. I know they're not still here in Wyoming. You think about people like that, and you go, wow, I wonder whatever happened to those people. I'll have to look them up when we get done. So anyway, back to the Cinco de Mayo thing. I hope everybody had a good and a safe Cinco de Mayo holiday. Viva la Mayo. I mean, and that's what this holiday is about. It was a battle that was fought. And I'm just going to let's see how historically accurate I am here. I'm just going to look this up and see, because I didn't really look anything up about it earlier. I just wanted to talk about that because I always hear people, especially out here, and I'm sure there are celebrations going on in this little town. I'm sure everybody had something going on for Cinco today. Commemorates the anniversary of Mexico's victory over the Second French Empire at the Battle of Puebla in 1862, led by General Ignacio Zaragoza. So there we go. I didn't know Zaragoza. I did, but I didn't remember it. But it is not, and I'm just looking at the History Channel here. I'll bring up what I'm looking at here so everybody can see it. There we go. Okay. No, I don't want to sign up. So it celebrates the date of the Mexican Army's May 5th, 1862, which I believe I said victory over France at the Battle of Puebla. And I believe I did say Puebla. So, hey, I'm not as stupid as you all think. It's also known as Battle of Puebla Day, and it's a relatively minor holiday in Mexico. In the United States, Cinco has evolved into a commemoration of Mexican culture and heritage, particularly in areas with large Mexican-American populations, or in areas with a lot of white people that want to have the excuse to get drunk. Sorry, not sorry. That's the case. I didn't go out or anything last night. I typically don't go out. I'm usually right here all the time, either here or I'm out in the garage doing woodworking. So, but as I said, okay, Benito Juarez, he was the president at the time, and they were in financial ruin. So I did say that in response. Look at this. France, Britain, and Spain sent naval forces to Veracruz demanding repayment. Did I not say that? I'm serious. I didn't read any of this stuff earlier. I took a number of classes about Mexican history, which is really interesting. I mean, talk about a crazy country. I mean, I'm actually fascinated with Mexico because it's just the history is just it's incredible. I mean, you go back to the Aztecs, the Mayans, the Incans, and just the whole history of the place is just it's been a really colorful, it's still violent, still very violent, but very colorful place. A lot of different upheavals and overtakings and overthrows and revolutions. You go back to Emiliano Zapata and Pancho Villa, the Zapatistas and then just the different regions. I mean, you get down to the very southern point in Chiapas. It's one of the poorest places, but some of the happiest people with nothing. And it's right on the border of Guatemala. And it's funny because, excuse me, a lot of times you see this meme that has it'll show the fence, the wall, and it's actually the wall that's in Israel. But the meme says that it's between Guatemala and Mexico, when in fact that's not where it's from. And I've had to correct a few people that have put that meme out. I'm like, hey, don't, that's why you got to be careful about what you put out there on social media. And I'm not trying to be the Department of Misinformation. And I don't think the Department of Misinformation is worried about memes either. Well, maybe they are, because they said that was responsible for Hillary losing the election was because there was, I don't know what there was, some Russian meme bot factory or something that put out some meme that I remember seeing it. It was something about what would Jesus, I don't know, something with Jesus and Trump, and I don't know. It was stupid. I honestly don't think memes had anything to do with the election, even though they spent 3 years and 30 some odd $1 million on an investigation headed up by the guy that told us there was weapons of mass destruction in Iraq and was instrumental in the death of 1 million Iraqis. I don't know how those people live with themselves. I don't know how George Bush lives with himself. I don't know how he gets up in front of the stupid, the White House dinner, and then he makes jokes, acting like he's, showing the slideshow where he's like looking up his ass and, oh, no WMDs over there, maybe over here. He's wandering around his office with Condoleezza Rice. She did an interview recently, I believe it was with Kennedy on Fox, and I think it was with Kennedy. Don't hold me to that. This is just from my memory. But it was brought up that anybody who invades a sovereign country is a war criminal, and there's Connie Rice sitting there. Oh yeah, Well, okay, Connie, what's that make you? I mean, we invaded and destroyed a country, and through that destruction and death, and then our quick exodus, it led to the formation of ISIS. Trillions of dollars. They sit in the green zone back then. I mean, this was before a lot of this information was out there on the internet. But if I remember right, there was just briefcases of cash, United States currency, going all over the place. People making deals, just shady shit going on in that green zone. You know what I mean? Let's see. And it was all just to perpetuate George Bush Jr.'s daddy's war, it was, what a weird time. But yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look it up. It'd be interesting to look into that again and actually get some numbers. But I know that there was a ton of cash that was just, from what I understand, just briefcases of it going to certain people. But anyways. And then the other thing that's been on the news it was the leak that happened with the Supreme Court and the draft opinion that they wrote that was going to, that's supposedly going to overturn Roe v. Wade. Now, that was a case that happened in 1969. A lady in Texas was going after the state because of their abortion law. And so now get this, people, all you wokesters out there are really going to trip on this, because there was 7 white men that found it constitutional that women should have a right to an abortion. So now to sit here and say that white men are the ones taking it away, there's a lot of bullshit there. Now, here's the other thing that nobody is telling you, okay, folks? Now, you can look this up, and I'll look it up for you right now if you like. There is a bill, all right? This bill has passed the House of Representatives, okay? It has 48 senators that are backing it. This is a bill that would keep the reproductive rights of women intact. Now, there's a reason why this thing isn't being pushed forward and why it's not being mentioned. Do you want to know why that is? Let's think about this, folks. Why would that be? Why would the Democratic Party not want to say anything about this bill? Any reason? Any ideas? Anybody, please. Bueller. It's because they have nothing else to grandstand on at this point. You have midterm elections coming up in November. What did the Democrats have to stand on? What do they have? What do they have? What's the percentage in this country of females versus males? I believe it's 51 or 52% female, 48 or 49% male. Again, I can look that up. I like to do a little fact checking on myself, I guess, because that way everybody knows that what I'm saying is at least got some factual basis. And if it doesn't, then I'll retract it. All right, let's see what we got here. This is okay. This is from 2020. So what we have here is we got 97.948. So we say 98 males per 100 females. What's that come up to? How do we do that, folks? To make that a percentage. Okay, female population is, this is as of 2020, 50.52% compared to 49.48 male. So if you want to garner votes and a decision like this comes out, like this Roe v. Wade, it's not even set. It was just an opinion draft, and one of the staffers leaked it. They don't know who yet. I believe there's, whistleblowers like Ed Snowden, Chelsea Manning. I happen to think that both of them did the right thing, and they should be looked at as heroes, which they were supposedly going to be looked at under Obama. He said he would do whatever to protect whistleblowers. Well, look, Snowden's in Russia, holed up, can't come home, won't come back because he knows he's not going to get a fair shake because there's people that think he's a traitor. Well, I don't think that's the case. I think when somebody comes out and tells a whole country full of people that, hey, you've been, that little device you're wandering around with, he comes out and tells people that this thing has been looking at you, watching you, recording you, and that there's a whole division of government that's behind it. I think that in his position especially, that took some pretty big balls to do that. I wouldn't say that person is a traitor. After all, the government is supposed to be there to serve us, the people. They don't. They do not. They most certainly do not serve us. If that were the case, we would not be where we were at right now. If that were the case, we would not have been in Afghanistan for 20 years. We would have never been in Vietnam. We wouldn't be involved in this Ukrainian debacle that's going on right now. And we wouldn't be, if it was up to you and me, we wouldn't be even thinking about having, Congress right now, they're arguing over a $33 billion package in which we're going to take Russian oligarchs' yachts, mansions, and expensive cars, and we're gonna basically take those things from them. Now, I don't know how one goes about defining where an individual from another country acquired their wealth, or how they obtained the things that they have, or what gives us the jurisdiction to take those items and sell them. And who's going to buy? Who out there right now in this world is going to be buying $90 million yachts, $100 million yachts? Some of those things that I've seen, there's some of them. Some of those big, huge yachts out there are upwards of $300 million. I know that there's a percentage of rich people out there, but they already have those toys. They already have those things. And so the whole time say we, or the British or whoever, we confiscate these yachts, okay? Does anybody know what one of the most expensive things about a boat is? It's paying for the moorage. It's the upkeep, especially if it's an ocean ferrying vessel. Then it's basically in salt water, and everybody understands how corrosive that is, right? So there's a lot of upkeep. So while that boat is at port, there's a lot of, not only the cost to store the thing, but also the upkeep on it. For those big, huge yachts, they have people that stay on those all the time because there's constantly work that has to be done. It's kind of like an airplane. Like an air, like your car, right? I mean, like my diesel truck, right? It needs to start. It needs to run. I mean, I don't like leaving it sit. It needs to run like every day. Although I didn't go anywhere today. However, it's like an airplane. An airplane will, an airplane lasts longer the more it's in the air. It's what it's designed to do. It actually, it starts to break down when it's on the ground. And a boat's the same way. So why I say that is because if we confiscate all these vessels, then we are responsible for the upkeep and the care of those vessels while whatever it is goes through court. However it is that we go about proving that these were ill-begotten gains, which I'm not quite certain how that happens. And I'm not quite certain how we have the authority to even do such a thing. And then to sell all these things to cover the $33 billion bill. That's like what Biden's saying, oh, the Build Back Better, it's already paid for. Oh, is my camera not going to come back on now? Great. And here we go again. I guess I had enough. Okay, I guess we're back up. Weird. Stupid thing. Anyways, I've been talking about all these trillions of dollars already paid for. Yeah, with our dollar. Where'd all that money go? Where did it all go? What'd everybody get? $1,400? Lose your business, job. I mean, everybody lost so much over this whole thing, and it's ironic, the studies that are coming out. I mean, if any of you are curious, check out Dr. Bean, Dr. Drbeen. He does some pretty comprehensive evaluations of medical studies that are happening, much the same as what I put out. Obviously, I'm not a medical doctor. However, I did put out the content of an accredited university study and managed to win myself a 2-week ban off YouTube for that. And the study that I watched him evaluate today was pretty much the same thing that I was saying. Now, obviously, when I put the stuff out there, it's obviously not my opinion. I would not be able to figure all these things out. However, when it is a study from an accredited university and it's got doctors' names and people that have the credibility in the field, when it's got those names all over it, and I put pictures of the study, put it up on the side screen for everybody to see, and it doesn't coincide with Tony Science, who knows everything. Okay, don't anybody ever argue with Tony Science, because he's Tony Science, for God's sake. I mean, you'd be an idiot. I mean, you just can't argue with that. You can't even like contemplate that. You can't even think differently. You can't even question it. That's the thing that gets me, is we live in a society now where we're just at a point where we can't even question anything to people, and that's a scary time. We've got this Ministry of Truth. Anybody ever read 1984? If you haven't, go read it. You can get it on audiobook. Somebody will read it to you if you can't read anymore. A lot of people can't. The last time I was in college, I was in a freshman communications class, and there wasn't a single person in that class that could hardly read a full sentence or pronounce a word that had more than 4 syllables. Final papers were handed out. They said anybody that didn't get over an 80% needs to stick around for special tutoring after class. There was a substitute. I got my paper back, and I had 100%, and she looked at me and said, "Can you stay and help some of these kids?" I had an ankle monitor on at the time. So here I am. I'm a guy that's just out of prison, sitting in this class, and I don't know how I ended up in it. They said I'd never had taken it. I'm like, you understand that? Like, look at my fucking transcripts. I'm like, I'm a writer, for fuck's sake. You don't think I can communicate? Okay. So I'm in this freshman communications class, and it was just absolute comedy. And I'm sitting over there. I'm wearing, pants every day because I don't want to, we've got a bunch of 19-year-old girls in the class. The last thing I want to do is scare a bunch of kids. And I'm sitting over there, and the teacher, the whole time he's demurring to me regarding just any number. He's calling on everything. He's asking me my opinion, because I'm the old wise guy in the class or whatever. I was just laughing. I was sitting there with a ankle monitor on, and I'm the only person that gets over. I'm literally the only one that's able to stand up and walk out of class afterwards. All the rest of these kids have to stay in there for special help, and they ask me to stay and help them. I'm like, no. And I've told the story before. I was like, no, sorry, I got to go back to Cody. I got to go read to my kids' kindergarten class this afternoon. And that's what's disheartening, though, is I feel bad for those kids. And now at this point, that was like 8 years ago. So those kids are, most of them are, 26, 27, 28 years old. And that makes me wonder, what happened with them. But they don't, kids don't learn this stuff. Anyhow, I digress. Always getting sidetracked. We're talking about the ministry of truth. And just going back to the internet stuff, I was talking about the study that Dr. Bean was talking about today. It's pretty interesting stuff. I'm not going to delve into it, but if it's something that you're curious about, it's well worth watching. It's well worth taking the time. Anything educational that's actually education is worth taking the time. And it's just funny how in this time, excuse me, and in this climate, that you can say anything that's not true. You can make up any number of horseshit lies, goofy memes, nonsense, and it's out there. There's stuff I've seen on Twitter today. It's like, how in the hell is this even still up? Yeah, you put something out that's factual evidence, and they take it down, Thankfully, and hopefully, that won't be happening anymore, because Elon Musk is now temporarily taken over as the CEO of Twitter, and he got rid of that other CEO, and that's well, think of it what you will. I'm not going to tell you what to think. Y'all can think for yourselves. At least I hope. If you're watching this, then obviously you think for yourself, because there aren't too many people that tune into this show that are hive-minded with that herd mentality. I definitely don't promote that. I don't particularly care for that way of thinking, although occasionally I'm sure that I'm guilty of it. I try not to be. But we all make mistakes. We all screw up. We all have our downfalls. Doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter. We all make mistakes. It's part of life. If you're not making mistakes, then you're just mediocre. You look at successful people, and they've made some of the biggest mistakes ever. Until you put yourself in a position where you put yourself out there where you're about to make a huge mistake and you got to figure it out, then you're really not growing as a human being. You're just, you're just kind of punching the clock, going through the motions, which I encourage all of you not to do. Just saying. I know everybody's got to do what they got to do. But if that's what you're doing, I would encourage you to take any of your spare time. If you can manage to save $1 or $2, which, it's getting more difficult and more difficult. I think I dumped $400 at the grocery store last week. But I'm just trying to stock up on stuff, It's $100 at the pump the other night when I was filling up for 75. $100 gets me 17 gallons and change a couple nights ago. And doesn't come close to filling up my tank. But I wasn't trying to dump $200 in there. I'm trying not to drive. You know, I mean, I'm not doing the paint business anymore or anything like that. So really, there's no point in, driving that guzzler around. But the only vehicles I have 2 trucks and I've got a dirt bike. So I ride the dirt bike more than anything. And it gives me the most enjoyment because I'm out there by myself in the middle of nowhere. It's just me, the antelope. There's an old mangy wolf out there that I've ran across a couple times. He doesn't like seeing me though. But I can tell he's been ostracized from the pack because he's mangy, he's old, kind of scraggly. I know where he's staying at too. And I've been up there and I've kind of walked around his area and there's a wolf sign all over the place. Wolf, prints. And for anybody that's ever seen a wolf print, it's fairly different than a canine dog, or it's they're pretty big, and a pile of wolf shit looks different than anything you've probably ever seen too. If you know what you're looking at, it's pretty easy to figure that one out. But I like it being out there, just me, the fossils, the antelope. They take off and run as soon as they hear that bike. I've had them do some weird stuff though, man, because I always stop. You know what I mean? Like everybody saw the footage of Kanye West chasing him out there in his Can-Am a couple years back. Him and Kardashian, they were out there, riding around, not actually too far from where I am at on my dirt bike, but they were chasing him, thinking it was funny. And of course, people from the city don't understand that it's not. It's looked at as it's a citable offense to chase wildlife. It's like if you got a dog that's out there chasing deer or elk or antelope or whatever, I mean, game and fish will come and put your dog down. I've seen it happen before. And they don't say anything. They don't care. They just come in and shoot your dog. And it's your dog, So anyway, I always stop, is what I'm saying. And when I see him out of the corner of my eye, out of the peripheral, I'll stop. And sometimes they'll run in front of me. Sometimes they'll just run away. But I usually just stop and let them take off and go where they're going to go. Because you never know who's up in the hills watching what you're doing. And I certainly don't want to get some citation for harassing wildlife. But this was a few weeks back. And they just did circles around me. And it was a big, huge herd. It was crazy. And it was on the cusp of a snowstorm was coming in. And I tried to get out because I knew it was coming in. I wanted to get out and go for a ride before it hit. And I was out there quite a ways. And these things, I stop, they run in front of me. And I watch them, they start circling around. And I'm looking, and they come behind me. And they go right back where they were. And then they go in front of me again. And I'm like, that's weird, So I start going once they go across. I'm like, all right. And so I get going up the road, and I come to a crossroads, if you would. Dirt road going, dirt track, and one in front of me. I'm like, okay, which way am I going to go today? I'm, looking at my phone, checking the radar, looking up at the sky, and going, okay, when are we going to get hit with the snowstorm? Because the last thing you want to do is get caught, 10, 15 miles out there on a dirt bike in a snowstorm. It's not fun. If you're on a 4-wheeler, side by side, something like that, that's a different story. But on 2 wheels, it's if you don't have studs on your tires, it's not a real treat. So I'm looking in the side, and all of a sudden I can hear the hooves. And I look up, and I'll be damned, these things are running a circle around me again. And I'm like freaked out. And so I take off, and I decide to take the direction that's going to, lead me closer to being able to get home than further out than I am. I'll be damned if it didn't happen 3 times. So you talk about herd behavior. I mean, that's what people do. They do the same stupid thing. So here we are, we're circling the wagons over this Roe v. Wade thing, okay? That's what this is all tying together, okay? So everybody out there is throwing a fit over this. You see Elizabeth Warren, she's going nuts. People are threatening judges. People are losing their minds. They're marching on the Capitol. They're, having protests. They don't even understand that there is a bill that is out there that has already passed the House of Representatives. And it is on the floor of the Senate, but it's not being voted on, even though there are 48 senators that are on board. The 2 Democrats that aren't, of course, is Joe Manchin and I believe it's Bob Casey. Now, Democrats have control of the Senate, but they're not going to push this thing forward for a vote on anything. Why is that? They want something to grandstand on for the midterm elections, and this is their rock. This is the only thing that they've got, because everything else they've screwed up so badly. Everything is such a mess right now. And it's on them, and everybody knows it. So what they're doing is they're using this thing, which some pompous little staffer, each one of those justices has, I believe, 3 staffers. And so it as Ted Cruz said today, it's fairly simple. We're going to figure out which one it was, and they're going to prosecute him. And so there's a difference between a whistle. They're saying it's a whistleblower, but that's not a whistleblower. That's somebody that's leaking information that shouldn't be leaked, because it's not a decision that's been put out. It's not been made public knowledge. It's a draft opinion behind closed doors between the justices and their staffers. And that's it. That's the only people that are allowed in there. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it was obviously one of the liberal judges or a liberal staffer working for a conservative justice that managed to, I don't know. I don't know the process that goes into how they decide who their staffers are. And I'm guessing that each justice has their, they have a decision-making process. But it was obviously one of them, because I seriously doubt that one of the Supreme Court justices would go out and leak that information. I wouldn't think. I mean, that's not something that an honorable person on, in the highest court in the land would do. So everybody's losing their mind over this, but they're not telling you. It's not about, their decision as well is not necessary. It's not about it's not about anything but, removing reproductive rights for females. Okay. So this shouldn't be, it's not a decision that's going to do that. Everybody's saying it's going to revert to the state. Well, here's what's going to happen. They're going to wait till after the midterm elections, and then they're going to run this bill through the Senate. And at that point, it's probably going to pass, and everything is going to be just the same, except for it's going to make the thing be federally overriding. I don't know. There might be some kind of I haven't actually read the bill, so I've read the bullet points on it, and it's basically, it's basically saying that women have this right, and it'll make it, federally binding across the board. So that way there's not going to be any more states, changing minds or anything like that. But the thing is, I think the reason they looked at it this way was because I'd have to look up the amendment. I want to say it's 16. No, it's not 16. I'm sorry. I believe we're talking 6th. It's saying it's the amendment that says that anything that is not under the control of the federal government reverts to the states. Now, there's nothing in the Constitution. Okay, no, that speedy trial is 6. Here, I'm Mr. Wise Guy, and I can't remember which fucking amendment this is. The 10th Amendment. Jeez. Duh. I should have known that. Powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited by it to the states are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. Okay? So obviously when the Constitution was written, abortion wasn't something that was under the guise of said document. So that would revert to the states. So I think that the reason that why they've written this opinion draft to overturn Roe v. Wade, the way I see it is that's why. Because they're realizing that there was never anything in the Constitution that said that was something that was under the guise of the federal government. And so what they're trying to do is make it a a sweeping federal deal. So you don't have these situations in different states where they're overturning it, where they're making abortions illegal, where they're, doing things of that nature. It's hardly my place to say. And that's why I've always just considered myself to be pro-choice, because as a man, you can't make that decision. You can't. Men don't give birth. Supposedly they do now, I guess. I don't know. I'm not privy to how that happens. Or the only time I've ever seen that was when Stewie on Family Guy, when he had like octuplets or whatever. That was gross. That was really over the top. Really over the top. Anyway, I don't honestly see this as something for everybody to lose their fucking minds about, because it's grandstanding, it's gaslighting, and it's playing off of something that is already out there in the works, to where this freedom for women is not going to be lost. Okay? And I want everybody to understand that. And you can look it up. I can look it up for you right now and put it up on the screen, and you can see what I'm talking about. But the reason no one's talking about this is because, first of all, nobody pays attention. So wise up, folks. Start paying attention. And I'm not necessarily talking to anybody who's watching this or listening to what I have to say, because most of you that listen to this, you're already in the know. You're already paying attention to what the fuck is going on, and you're looking these things up, and you're looking into what I'm talking about. I'm not some crazy QAnon conspiracy theorist. Okay? I don't think that Obama and Michelle Obama are on Guantanamo Bay, or I don't think, none of that. I'm not playing that. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm a member of the People's Party, and I can't even vote. Which is awesome, because I consider myself to be fairly well informed. And the people I talk to don't even know what the hell I'm talking about most of the time, and they go out and vote, and they just go in whatever they do and go and just check R or D all the way down the board. They don't know the issues. They don't know the voting records of the politicians they're voting for. They're just voting on party lines just because that's how they do it. And to me, that is an uninformed electorate, and that's how we end up in the position that we're in today with the people in power that we have in power today. That's how this happens. Because you have a bunch of people that have been too comfortable, they've been too complacent, they've been too happy living in their little cookie cutter house with their little bundles of joy, their minivans, working in a cubicle, paying off their bills, barely having enough to skate by. Maybe they're lucky and get a vacation, going to soccer practice, buying band instruments, just being Griswolds. And then going home, and if they do watch anything on the news, they're tuning in to either Fox, CNN, MSDNC, NBC, whatever these stupid networks are, that they're just all propaganda machines. That's all they are. The media is owned by 6 entities. That's it. 6. Own every major news organization. That's it. You don't think that they sit down and they decide what they're going to put out? You don't think that they play to certain audiences? You can get a totally different report on things depending on which station that you watch. You can watch one news station and you can hear a report about whatever it is. And you go, oh man, that's screwed up. You turn it to the next one, and it's put out there a completely different way. And you go, wait a minute, It all depends, and they do it on purpose. It's done on purpose. It's all by design, folks. This is all by design. It's not just, you're not getting the truth. That's what I'm trying to provide is a little bit of truth, or a little bit of information to help you go out there and at least, figure out where you're at on it. They don't want you to think critically. They don't. They came out and flat out said that recently. Flat out said the people shouldn't be thinking critically on this stuff. Just believe what Brian Stelter has to say to you. Anybody who watches that, I don't even know how he has a job. Anybody want to sound off on how that guy has it? How'd that guy ever even get on the fucking TV? That's what's amazing to me. He must have, I mean, I would say he had his head up somebody's ass, but that potato head of his is so big. It had been one, maybe it was that Zucker. When he's gone, I think, I don't know. You know, and then you see that, what's her face? The racist. Joy Ann Reid. What a racist, obnoxious, bitter woman she is. I've never seen somebody so racist and bitter as her. I mean, it's offensive. I can't even watch her. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm a white man. What do you want me to do about it? I can't change it. I didn't have nothing to do with it. And to sit there and listen to the shit that she says where she puts every white person in a box. I mean, that's just, it's offensive. I mean, you want to be offended about something. There's a person to be offended about because she's just about the same as, you know, I would be just as equally offended if I had to sit there and listen to, you know, somebody at a Klan, you know, a Klansman sit there and spout their bullshit rhetoric, because that's all she's about is bullshit rhetoric. She hates white people, but then she gets these people on there with her. There's that one guy that looks like a pencil eraser. That, I don't know what his name is. I think he goes by Anon, or he's you get those two going. I mean, that's all you can do to watch it. It's just like trying to sit there and watch a Joe Biden speech. I try to watch him. I have to watch him in pieces because I can't sit there and watch the whole thing. It's just so god awful. I mean, you all know the sound of fingernails on the chalkboard. I mean, it's like watching Mitch McConnell. I can't listen to that fucking turkey neck. That fucker looks like goddamn Mr. Peanut, you know? I mean, if you put a fucking cane and a goddamn monocle and that top hat on him, he's like a cross between Mr. Peanut and a fucking tortoise. But those are the type of people we got. I mean, those are people. Here's what I'm saying: if you think that it's worth your while to vote, if you think that's a good thing to do, and you're proud of your vote, and you think it makes a difference, then I encourage and I challenge you to do this on this midterm election. Do not vote for a single incumbent individual. Nobody that's an incumbent. See what happens. It's my challenge to the country. If you're going to vote, that's the only way to go. No incumbents. I don't care. And I'll throw Rand Paul in there and any of them that are incumbents. Get them all out. Get rid of them. All out. No more Pelosi's, no more Schumer's, no more McConnell's, no more Lindsey Graham's. No more of them. Bye. Watch what happens if that's the case. Watch and see what difference that makes in this country. Be very interesting to see, wouldn't it? Think about it. Why do we want these old people in there that have been, I mean, no more Maxine Waters. Bye. No, Barbara Feinstein, they want her out anyway. She's 88 fucking years old. If at 80 years old, you shouldn't be in politics because, I mean, I know some sharp 80-year-old. I mean, I've known some sharp 80-year-old people. But they also have moments of, you know, I mean, that's what happens. It's cognitive decline. Look at, jeez. Look at you know who. We all stumble over our words from time to time. We all have those moments. I have certain words that I have a very hard time saying. There's a couple of them, and I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Oh, God, there's one in particular that I did every time I say it, I botch it. And I'm usually pretty good. But it's a combination. I was talking to Tyler about it the other night. I was laughing because I kept trying to say it, and I kept just, you know. But this guy, he can't even, I mean, he's sitting there the other day trying to say kleptocracy, and he's up there, he's like, he's chewing on, he's like, he's got yesterday's oatmeal still in his dentures or something. I mean, I don't know. So he looks like he's got, it's almost like he's got chew in his top and his bottom lips. I don't know if that's Botox. Is that what he was doing for the 50 days that he was in his basement before the election? Was he getting work? Getting all tightened up? Because he looks like somebody grabbed a scalp on the back of his head and just yanked that sucker back and then like tied it and put a zip tie on it or whatever. Because that face of his, and when he does that goofy smile, I mean, they got to be wooden teeth. Well, they're probably not. He's probably got the best dental plan on the planet. Probably got $50,000 wrapped up in them chompers, hair plugs, reconstructive ear surgery, forehead lengthening. That's got to be what it is, because I swear to God, the guy's forehead is risen, so they had to just grab that right by the back, just yoink, stretch that sucker back, and zip tie it. I don't know how they do it. Take the syringe and inject you full of Jello. I don't know any dudes that are 80 years old, too, that are like that vain that they would go get that done. I mean, at this point in my life, I got gray hair. I shave my beard off now because of that. I guess I'm vain enough that it takes about 10 years off my appearance. We all want to look younger than we are, right? You don't purposely want to go out there and look like you don't want to be 46 looking like you're 60. I've worked for guys in their early 50s that look like they're 70 years old. And then you find out how old they go, ooh, you're only 53? Jeez. I could have swore you were 75. But anyhow, here's what I'm saying, no, okay? The two things I wanted to talk about, one was the Roe v. Wade, and the other, was, that Cinco de Mayo thing, which is done and gone, but next year maybe be a little more thoughtful about it. And I'm not talking about cultural appropriation or anything, but I'm just saying it's not a reason to go out and just get stupid drunk. And it's not Mexico's Independence Day either. So I just wanted to put some of that to rest, because I saw a bunch of people and stuff yesterday. Just, you see all I didn't even look at the book face, but in the years past, I tend not to look at social media. I know this comes out on Facebook, but I've tried. I know I said I was going to do better about looking at comments and everything, but I just can't do it. I say what I'm going to say. It's out there. If people want to argue over it, comment on it, fine. What I have to say is what I have to say. I put it out there, and that's that. I'm not going to sit there and I'm not going to get into arguments with people on social media. Sure, I put out stuff that might provoke people. I was pretty upset with what went on last week with the Orbeez deal. I'm still not very happy about that, and that's all in the works. I don't want to see these kids get into legal trouble at that age, but I also don't want to see this type of thing go on anymore. That's my point of view on it. I'm not trying to get kids jammed up in the system. So not to get back on that, but there'll probably be more updates on that as it goes along. But I wanted to talk about the Cinco thing. I want to talk about Roe v. Wade. It's not something that I think everybody's blowing this way out of proportion, and I don't think people understand that there's actually the reasoning behind it. I don't think people understand that, because from everything I see, it really probably isn't constitutional, because that's not granted as something under the guise of the federal government. But it's already been put in the works. It's already passed the House, and the Senate is not voting on it. This is a reason why we need to change things, because this is politicized nonsense. See, you have these people that are all sitting here grandstanding on this thing, and they're talking about women's rights and all this, but the remedy has been written. It's already passed the House, okay? We have bicameral legislation in this country, so you got the House and the Senate, and they're not voting on it. If they don't put things to a vote after they pass the House and the Senate, if they don't think that they're gonna not go through, and I'm not here to sound off on my thoughts on, pro-choice versus pro-life. Like I said, I've always just considered myself pro-choice because it's not my decision. How can I sit there and tell a woman, and I'm sorry, unlike the new appointee to the Supreme Court, the Honorable Ketanji Brown Jackson, I'm fairly adept at defining what a woman is. I mean, I've I haven't struck. I mean, I've not had a swing and a miss on that one yet. I've not had the crying game surprise. Bad joke. I haven't though. I know people who have, but it's not. So by saying I'm pro-choice, it's just that it's not my choice. It's not my decision. I could never sit here and say that I can make that decision for a woman, because I can't. And then there's a whole nother can of worms after that, but I'm not going to get into that tonight because I've already been babbling for over an hour. If anybody's even still listening, I'm surprised. It's late, and I know I get going on these pontifications early in the morning because I sit here and watch watch, study, read, take notes on things all day, every day, and then by the time I'm ready to go, it's usually after midnight. So hey, maybe you'll wake up and see this and listen to it on your way to work. But yeah, I hope everybody had a lovely Cinco. Even though it's it fell on a Thursday, but I guess Thursday's the night that Thursday's kind of amateur night out there in the bar world, isn't it? Isn't that the night everybody goes out and gets all corned up? I know here in Cody it was Thursday night was quarter beer night. We used to just call it Juby's Trailer Court Fight Night back in the day. Go in there and get you pitchers of Bud or Bud Light for $2 a piece. And then inevitably, you'd have a brawl break out. Mullets and teeth flying everywhere. But eventually I ended up just started referring to it as amateur night. And I think that's probably it was weird when I was in college. Thursday night was always the party night too. Thursday night was party night. Everybody Friday, if you did go to class, just hung over, just hang dogging it, or still drunk. And I never understood that. Maybe somebody fill me in why Thursday night's a party night. Is it because you're that close to the weekend? You want to elongate the weekend? Do you have plans to skip work or school on Friday? Let me know. I know when I was in college, it was just every night was party night. It didn't matter. I didn't care. Every night, every day, whatever. And I mean, that was just the way it was back then. Thank God those days are done. Jesus Christ. I don't know how I'd live like that anymore. Good Lord. Managed to squeak that one out for quite a while, though, much longer than I should have. But thankfully, those days are done. Anyhow, it's my advice to look up this Roe v. Wade stuff. Look up the bill. Let me find it here just to pull it up so you can see that I'm not making it up. I'm trying to remember the name of. I'd have to get on another. I'm like a chicken pecking. Okay, we're not going to watch a video on this. But this went through in 2021. And it looks like they're calling it the Healthcare Everywhere Act of 21. And there's the Women's Healthcare Protection Act as well. But this is basically protection for the right to provide and access abortion care free from medically unnecessary restrictions and bans on abortion, including forced waiting periods, biased counseling, and pre-viability bans, like the one in Texas. So this is already going through the House. They're not putting it up for a vote in the Senate, okay? There's a reason for this. There's a reason why they hold off on these things. It was like force the vote, right? I mean, Jimmy Dore was behind the force the vote thing for Medicare for all. And the squad was supposed to be behind the squad. And what they all do, they busted weak. So that's what's going on here. They're wanting to grandstand on this, okay? Here we go. September 24th of 21, the House passes abortion rights legislation. 218 to 211, that's how close it was in the House. It just says this would broadly expand the scope of abortion rights. So it's out there. And you can't tell me that there wouldn't be some Republicans that would vote on the side of this. But there's a reason that unless you look for this stuff, folks, you're not going to find it. It's not just going to pop up on your feed. You have to actively go out there and search for information. You have to look these things up. You have to do the homework. I always say, do your homework. I try to do my homework. I honestly do. I mean, anything that I bring up, just like talking about Cinco de Mayo. Now, I didn't look anything up about that because I've taken I took the courses about the history of Mexico. And I really enjoyed those classes, and I did all the reading. I did extra reading. I still have. I've got a bunch of those books that are up on my bookshelf. And I mean, one of my favorites was Los de Abajos, the Underdogs. So when I'm talking about stuff, it's you can find it and back it up. Sometimes I say, now let me check. Just like this with this House bill. I didn't remember the name of it, but I knew that it had passed in the House, and certainly it has. And there's a reason that it's not going forward, and it's because this is the only thing that the Democrats have to stand on right now. It's their Hail Mary. This is Rudy running down the sideline. And the quarterback going back, about ready to get hit, and just letting one fly. And fucking Rudy, one-handed grab. That's what they're hoping for with this. Don't let them do that to you. I'm not saying vote one way or another, but I'm just saying that this is grandstanding, it's gaslighting, and it's bullshit. And the reasoning for the court writing the opinion draft that they did is because their job is not to make laws. They're the judicial branch of the government, okay? We have legislative, judicial, and executive. The Supreme Court, their job is to tell you what the law is. It's to interpret it. So my take on this, now my job is to do nothing but sit here and babble, apparently. But my take on it is that they looked at it, they saw, okay, this was never anything that was specifically delegated to the federal government. And so this needs to be overturned. And they've already got the implementation to follow it up. They're just not putting it to a vote. So my encouragement to you would be call your representation. Call or email your state senators, because it's already passed the House. So you don't need to talk to the House representatives. But if this is something that is on your mind and concerns you, then you need to contact your state senators. Ask them why they're not voting on it. Why are they not putting this on the Senate floor? But what you need to do is not get all wound up and get crazy and start rioting and doing this same old stupid shit. You need to do your homework and figure out what's going on. And I'm all for women's rights, okay? So I'm not on some fringe side of this thing at all. I'm just calling it for what it is and how I see it. And the way I see it is the reason that this draft opinion came out was because they saw this as something that wasn't necessarily applicable to what the Constitution lays out. And there's already something in place to implement it. And to be, it'll have a broader stroke on the whole issue. And then you won't have states making their own decisions and laws based on this over, emotion and religion and what have you. And like I said, my personal thoughts on it, it doesn't matter because it's nothing that I have. That's why I'm saying I am pro-choice, because it's not my choice. I mean, I think that everybody has the right to do what they feel they need to do within their own sovereign person. Who am I to tell somebody? I'm not telling anybody what to do. The only thing I'm requesting people to do, this is a request. I'm not even telling you to think. I'm just asking you to think. I'm asking you to step outside the box, look at things, take an objective look at things. Don't let the emotion get into it. So often we let the emotions get into all these, these decisions that these people are making. And that's why I have such a problem with government the way it is. And the media and everything else, because they play on your emotions. They play it up. They ham it up. They just ham it up. That's all it is. It's a big show. And it's just a way to control everybody, keep us all divided, and keep us arguing with each other, not liking each other's hats. I mean, I love your hats. I don't care. Even if you have a Atlanta Braves hat on. Probably the team I can't stand more. And I think that comes from growing up with only having a TBS, and that's the only baseball games they ever showed out here in Wyoming. So we had to watch the Braves all the time, and they'd do that tomahawk chop chant. That shit drove me nuts. But probably because I had Native American friends. I don't know. I just never liked that shit. I mean, I know people get wound up on both sides of the fence on that one too. I don't personally care for it, but and then again, that's just my opinion. And everybody has a right to theirs. And I mean, it's not like it's hurting anybody, I guess. I don't know. Who's to say? I know that they've changed names of teams and stuff like that. But not my circus, not my monkeys. There's more, there's other important things. We get so wound up about these little things that offend us. I mean, and I know I said earlier that I was offended by a certain individual, and I am. And I would be offended by any white person that came out and spoke about black people like that too. I mean, I don't think anybody should speak about another race that way. I consider everybody out there to be my brothers and my sisters. That's why I've always looked at it. That's the way I always will. I mean, until you prove to be otherwise, And then, you know what? I just walk away. That's it, And I don't sit there and say that anybody, because somebody, because I have a falling out with somebody, I don't sit there and say that everybody that's, of the same, background or religion or whatever of that person is the same. It's idiotic. It's like there's people that are assholes and there's good people. I mean, that's the bottom line. It doesn't matter about this. It has nothing to do with it. Like I said, I can change the color of that. And, I mean, I can sit here tonight and I could, I could turn myself blue tonight if I wanted to. It might take a while. It might hurt a little bit, but I could do it. Eyelids and all if I wanted. I don't know if I got quite a bit of blue ink. I don't know if I could do the whole thing. I mean, what would I be then? The Blue Man Group? Start my own race. That's how silly it is, folks. That's how silly the whole goddamn thing is. The whole thing with the racism. It's just dumb. Because for all you know, I could be somebody else completely different tomorrow. And like I said, I think that's where I got my point of view on race and stuff. And thankfully, my mom, she gave me that book when I was younger. She's like, "Here, read this." And reading that book, Black Like Me, and I would encourage you to read that book. It's an old book. I'm not sure, I can't remember what year that was written. But you know what? It definitely did. I mean, it was written by John Howard Griffin, and I read this in like 2nd or 3rd grade. You can get it for $2.49 on abebooks.com, $8.50 on Amazon. I mean, this is it was a really influential book to me. And it was published in 1961. And it's nonfiction. John Howard Griffin, and he changed the pigment of his skin. And he went in the South, and he wanted to see what it was like to live like a black man. Now, that's a courageous individual right there. I mean, I've got a lot of respect for that man, because to do that, especially at that time, 1961 was a tumultuous time, and tensions were not very good down in the South in 1961. I mean, so for him to do that, I mean, that's a pretty incredible thing, especially for a white man to do that, you know. And I'm thankful that my mom gave me that book to read, because it definitely, like I said, at that point in my life, I don't think I had any kind of opinion on race or anything like that. But reading that book, it definitely began the journey for me, I suppose, on trying to understand and realizing that, you know, that the whole race thing was not something that I wanted to. I mean, I didn't want to get behind any of that bullshit, that I just wanted to treat people as people. So, I mean, that's something I'm grateful to my mom for, you know, give me that book. When she gave it to me, I mean, I was, at that point in time, I was reading Choose Your Own Adventure books, Where the Red Fern Grows, shit like that. She brought that book back from the library and told me to read it. And I was kind of like, huh? She goes, this is important. You need to read this. And really, that was a very influential educational moment for me. I mean, really, because, I mean, we look back and we think about things growing up. I mean, I just thought about this the other day. I hadn't thought about it in years. I hadn't even thought about that book. And then I started thinking about it. I was sitting here doing a tattoo on myself, and I'm thinking, you know, I could be a different color anytime I want. I mean, I already am. I'm multicolored. I'm a Skittle, every color of the rainbow. Bad joke. Anyways, if you're a parent out there, you think about it, pick up a copy of that book and have your kids read it. And maybe you should read it too. Maybe I should revisit it. But I mean, it's still fresh in my mind. I mean, I remember reading that and how appalled I was at the way this man was treated and the whole process that he went through to change the pigment of his skin, and then the fact that he just basically let his other life go and went and lived as a black man in the South at that point in time in this country when things were pretty heated. I mean, it takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of conviction to do something like that. I mean, much respect to that man, to John Howard Griffin. I'm not even sure if he's still alive. I'm curious. He's somebody I would definitely like to talk to. I mean, because honestly, I look at influential books in my life, and you know, I mean, you know, I can say On the Road, or I mean, the Dharma Bums was a big one. Monkey Wrench Gang, Fool's Progress. You know, a number of different books, but when I really think about it, that one, Black Like Me, that's probably one of the most influential books I think I've ever read in my life. And especially at the age that I read it, because I think that gave me the foundation to understand that we all are the same. That there isn't any difference between any of us. It's just all made up. Anyway, I guess that's a thought to leave it on for tonight. I'm going to take us out with, I made it a point to record the Cinco music, so I got to play the Cinco music again, people. Until next Cinco. Even though it's the 6th right now. And you'll probably see this on the 6th, or you won't see it at all. Who knows? If you do, though, please, do me a favor. Give me the thumbs up. Subscribe. There's no obligation. I'm not going to send you text messages, emails, anything like that. You're just helping me out. And that, you know, if you get any kind of gain out of anything on this show, then it'll come up on your feed. Because as nearly as I can tell, I've been shadow banned. That means, like, even on my own personal YouTube site channel, I try and look up my channel, and I literally have to type it in exactly, or it doesn't come up. One would think that on my feed that I would type THE and it would come up, but it doesn't. So I know it doesn't come up on yours. But there's a link to it on Twitter. I think it's going on a link to LinkedIn. If not, I'll put it up there. I'm trying to do a better job of this. I'm a technological idiot, so I'm not the best advertiser or promoter. So anybody has any advice for me on that, I'd appreciate it. Because I'm just not very good at the promotional thing. Just like I'm not good at selling shit. I just like doing things. That's about it. So anyway, on that note, you all have a wonderful Friday. If you're drinking, don't drive. If you're driving, don't drink. Be good at it, and all things be kind, and do no harm. From 52 miles east of Jellystone Park in Coyote, Wyoming, I'm your host, Michael File. This is the Mike Files. You can check out themikefiles.com. Hit me up at themikefiles@gmail.com. If you want to shoot me an email, feel free. Like, subscribe, and I encourage you to leave comments. I will do my best to read them, although I'm not making any promises. Sorry, not sorry. All right. And we're going to take you out with a day late fiesta.